Our heads in the clouds. Oh my goodness. Everybody trying to dig out of the snow?
Yep, that was the task of the day.
Who else has snow?
We're supposed to be getting it tomorrow. Yay. On the West Coast, people want rain. It's just so ridiculous. Get rain all the time.
Rain, rain, rain.
Well, the rain's good for taking the pollution out of the air, but you know, and then people complain about it being a rainforest. And I'm like, well, it is rain. They complain about the rain, but we do live in a rainforest, you know. Even if you think it's a city, it's still a rainforest.
Maybe that's why they call it British Columbia. It's
Oh.
always raining like Britain.
This name has got to go.
Yeah.
I've got to get the map of all the territories. It's pretty amazing when you see the map of at our native school. There's a huge map on the wall of all the traditional territories. It's just beautiful.
Well, all you gotta do is look at a map, any map, and you'll see traditional territories.
Yeah,
It's all our traditional territory.
it's just getting the names, you know.
Wow. Our sage is gone now. Yeah, I don't know.
Hey, Stuart, at some point, can you go back in and talk about the DNA from the Antarctic all the way coming up? And I just want to hear more and more of that. And then share what my mind's eye sort of saw when you said that, you know, and the underground mountains that, you know, because there's just no doubt that the cosmic, I mean, we have DNA in us, so obviously our Mother Earth's got her DNA patterns as well.
Well, for that, we're gonna need imagery from Google Maps, and that we're gonna have to have that prearranged. I don't know how we're gonna be doing that tonight.
Not
Okay,
tonight.
well, anyways, all right, well, on a good way, good joke. So we don't see us, Johnny. Because he does Rio, you're just going, no, Jane, no, Dodgett's going to start on hot dog, only. Didn't we all do? Gurunga Gary, I guess you. As a talk of Garako, then yet in the stars, you can zog it. A Guego Scott, Niganungwe. They can would all do so a year, and Kuntun Hetzelat Gawest, and a Guades and Egan Yatter the Gerda, and a Guego or Quadri and Mokosuma. They can would all do yet sort of Bunhan there on the Headstone. I'm going to go here to the Hawakway. I don't care again. Dam da we are on Hetzelan because it's not on Niganungwe. Dam da we are on Hetzelan, what's it? Nigot Dardige, Ganyaga Haga. Radinato, Ronata Roni, this way, okay. And down that way, a go on a go to Guyana, that's the go on the Scana, then I just say that. Am I repeating myself? Ori Huio, Gariwa Gori Shusra Dana Gaza. Down that way are on Hetzer and Kayandawana ne Kanikurio. Okay, so as you know, whenever we get together for meeting or ceremony or anything of importance, we always have to carry out a Honda Gari Wadepa first. This is where we identify and give thanks to the things in creation that have created us and the things that we need to continue to sustain us. So we always begin by giving our thanks to the great spiral of creation that when you look up into the nighttime sky, you're not looking into cold, dark, empty, lifeless space the way that non-native science would lead you to believe. No, instead you are looking into the living, vibrant body of our great mother, into the body of Sky Woman herself. And so we give thanks to her, to Sky Woman, as it is she who has given us spirit. From there, we give our thanks to the beating heart of our Mother Earth, to our Grandma Moon. It's she who regulates the flow of the lifeblood and all things. And so we give thanks to her, to Grandma Moon, as it's she who has given us blood. We give our thanks to our Mother Earth, regardless of where you have grown up from her, what language you speak, what you imagine divides us, what color you are. We all come from the same mother, making us all one family, all relatives, all related to each other, sisters, brothers. And so we give thanks to our Mother Earth, as it is she who has given us body. From there, we give our thanks to all the women, from the newest born baby girl to the eldest grandmother, as they carry the sacred title of life giver into the world. And they are to be honored and respected as such. We give thanks to them, for in this world, they give us purpose and direction. From there, we give our thanks to our ancestors. No, did I say all the medicines already?
I don't think so.
All the to Sawyerda, the energy that flows between all things, that keeps all of us alive, keeps all of our hearts pumping, us in motion. We give our thanks to the life givers in all strains of life, as it is they that perpetuate, that keep this life recycled. We give our thanks to our ancestors. I already identified that. I'll just end right there. Okay, so tonight we didn't have much lined up. We had a very good week. A lot of meetings, a lot of things established for the future. Meetings that we're going to have councils with our sisters and brothers across the country to align ourselves, to align our struggle, our fight. As we know that many Native people's issues are ending up in court. This is the most stupidest thing. Why are Native issues with Native people ending up in court? Court is for the white man. Court is for so-called Canadians. That's their system. When there ever is a clash between the natives and the non-native society, that's not the white man's court. That's a corruption. White man's court is not capable of dealing with issues on that level, where it's of international relations, where it's a treaty, where you got to deal with delicate affairs. There is no white man's court, no judge, no prosecutor, no lawyers that are qualified to address such things. And so any of our people that allow themselves to be pulled into that, well, then they're lowering themselves from the level of national, the national level where our relations are to be, and putting yourself under a provincial level, even a municipal level, because most people who are going to court are not going into a federal court. You're going into a municipal structured court, and then if it is appealed or something, then you're going under a provincial. So any of our people who are standing in defense of anything that is us, well, it's ridiculous for them to then allow themselves to be dragged through the white man's court system. This is corruption upon corruption. But this is our own people. This is our peoples fall automatically into lawyers. Why would any Native person fall back on a white lawyer, on a non-Native lawyer? And even, let's say it's a Native lawyer, big goddamn deal. Native lawyer already swore their allegiance to that woman they called their queen, and now they're that woman they called their king. So big deal if it's a native. Big deal, a native in a suit, it's a monkey. That's a dancing monkey. Just because a native is a lawyer, that doesn't mean that they're going to be able to defend you. No goddamn way. There is no lawyer in all of so-called Canada that can defend native people based on our native rights. It's illegal for any lawyers to do that. I know that personally because I attended the Bar Association meeting in 1994, where every lawyer in the country was handed down their agenda from the prosecutor general of so-called Canada, as to that they would no longer are to represent natives based on their rights. So what does that mean? Well, natives don't have rights. That means we're just like every other so-called Canadian. No, we're not. Never going to happen. I don't care how much the white man wants to say or pass bills or pass laws and then put policies into action, and because they work with sellout kiss asses in the British imposed genocidal elective system, doesn't mean that those things are legal. No way. But when our people comply with them, then you make it legal. You make the genocide upon yourself legal, which means you prescribe to it. You subscribe to it. No native person who is involved in any kind of land defense or anything, no one is to recognize the white man's court on any level. This depends on your position, and we discussed this in the past. We put forward what the position is that everyone is supposed to take when they are confronted with the stupidity of a non-native person who thinks that they can prosecute you, thinks that they can put that issue through the court system. That's that person, the prosecutor in the first place. Actually, in the second instance, the first instance is the police, who are the first ones, who are the frontline genociders upon the native people, because it's always them, in most cases, the rapists, criminals, murderers, and pedophiles that are breaking the treaty rights, the peaceful relations. And so when our people give into that and end up being subdued in their courts, and you acquiesce and you give in because the prosecutor's saying, oh, you're facing this, and if you don't make a deal, well, you're going to get the maximum sentence. Don't ever listen to prosecutors. They're the stupidest people on earth. Don't ever listen to a lawyer. They also are the stupidest people on earth. They are all playing a lion game. They were trained to play this to put themselves in a circumstance of false representation in between two parties. A lawyer is nothing more than a speculator. When you look at or consider say how the stock market works, you're a person who makes you make remote controls for televisions. Okay, well, if you make remote controls for televisions and you're selling them openly on the open market, and then the open market is what pressures you into becoming what they call an IPO, an initial public offering, making you step into the open market. And so if you're making remote controls in your town, you're limited to how many you can make. You're limited to the living that you can make doing that. So you automatically go to an IPO, an initial public offering in your business, to put you on a national scale, where you can become incorporate, and you can make more remote controls, so you can sell them in not just in your country but in other countries. And the moment that happens, you're subject to the open market, the stock market. You don't even realize that there's people in between you who's manufacturing this and the person you're selling it to. Who's the person you're selling this to? you don't know, somebody on the street, but you might sell this to them for, let's say $10. Okay, so $10, that would be a fair trade. They would exchange that for you. But the moment you go to IPO and you go into the open market, then you're subjected to speculators, stockbrokers, things, trading houses. Trading houses, what they do is, they'll see that, just before Christmas, they'll see that, well, you're selling your remote controls for $9. Okay, so they'll buy that for $9 and they'll sit on it for a year. And then in a year, they'll sell that for $15. They'll exponentialize their profits. This is what's happening, as you all know, what's going on with gas, fuel, diesel. Why diesel right now is a ridiculous amount, still $2.30-40 depending where you are. Some places 60 cents, where gas is way more than $1 cheaper, $1.30 cheaper. So this, in the past, when diesel was always cheaper than gasoline, how is it now more expensive than gasoline? Quite simply due to speculators. Speculators buying a bulk amount of stock in whatever. So they buy it in advance. They'll buy 10,000 barrels of oil in advance at this price. And then they'll sit on it, knowing that the oil is going to go up. So they'll take that sale price that the manufacturer was offering, because it's just before Christmas. So they're offering you a sale price, give you $1 off on your remote control. But the speculator steps in and no, you don't get your $1 off, because they're sitting on that remote control. They're selling you the same last year's model remote control at the same price, actually at a boosted price, because now it's not worth that much, because there's a new technology. But the speculators sit on the technology, boosting the price, causing you to be in constant bubbles of whatever it is. You've heard of housing bubbles? Well, we're in a diesel bubble right now, a diesel fuel bubble. But this is because corruption, the pirates like Biden have passed ridiculous laws giving incentives and tax breaks to you to buy electric vehicles. When electric vehicles, you think that they're greener because Biden tells you, but no, they're not greener. There's no such thing as a green energy. It's a lie. You are never going to have a green energy. You are never going to have a free, clean energy. It's not going to happen. Not in the way that the non-native are pursuing or thinking of energy. It's not going to happen. You know, for instance, just the story of Tesla over 100 years ago, as to when he seen that there was an abundance or fairly free power supply for everybody. But what happened? The powers that be, of course, speculators step in, because you're in a corruption of free enterprise, capitalism, anything you want to call it, doesn't really matter. You could call it socialism. It's all the same thing. When you look in the world, who's participating in it? Well, communist countries, socialist countries, democratic countries, dictatorships. So all forms of political bodies are all engaged in one particular thing, in free enterprise, capitalism. So that means that all of those things don't actually exist. They're just gangs. They're not like an actual thing. How is there some tangible socialism or communism right next to capitalism? How is that? No, they're all the same. They're all living the same thing, doing the same thing. They're all participating in the same stuff. They all live by the same beliefs. So everybody is subdued by these individual gangs, and this is how speculators can slip in between these individual gangs. You're in these separate countries. Look at this. These countries that are supposed to be at war. Russia, Ukraine, which means the United States, as you know, Britain, France, all of NATO. That's who's really at war, not Ukraine. Ukraine are the ones being used, the puppets there. The NATO countries are shipping them new technologies of military weaponry for them to try out. So it's not like they're the ones that are actually at war against Russia. But you look at these countries have positioned themselves, but who bombed, who destroyed that pipeline in the, I forget what sea it was, the Black Sea or whatever, you know, that pipeline from Russia into Europe. Who blew that up? Nobody knows. It's international terrorism. Who would profit from that? No individual country would actually profit from it. You know who profits from it? Speculators, mega corporation. That's who profits from it. And so mega corporations are the biggest warmongers on the planet now. Without you even knowing, they have functioning militaries all everywhere around the planet that are looking after the best interests of their corporation, which means they will do anything. Security now, policing, private policing, security firms. They are mercenaries, basically. That's all they are. They're trained by the military. It's what the military is for. They take you out of high school. They recruit you into the military, train you how to kill, and they pump you right out of there, process you into mainstream society, into these private security firms that are the main ones are run directly out of Israel, and they run all security all around the world, all the policing for all these mega corporations and for all politicians. So the people have been hoodwinked by democracy because it subjects them to capitalism, which is speculation. You put a speculator in between you and your person who you elect. You look at this, everybody elects whoever, and they go and sit in the Congress or else in Ottawa and their playrooms there. And who goes visits them all day long? Not you. You don't have access to politicians. Who goes visit them all day long is lobbyists. From what? From who? From school organizations? No. From hospital organizations to better coordinate medical? No, of course not. You see all of this deteriorating. Who stands between you and your politician are the speculators within these who are lobbyists that are not lobbying for themselves. Nobody ever lobbies for themselves. Who they lobby for, they get paid by big corporations to go and lobby government. And when they do, they wine and dine the politicians and they give kickbacks to the politicians. So the speculators between you and your politicians, as you know, you, the consumer, the speculator in the open market is your stockbroker or your trader. Well, here in politics, it's your lobbyist. They're the traders. They're the stock market. They're the stockbrokers. They're the ones who are moving things around in between you and the politicians, and you'll never see it because it's what the politicians are going to create laws now upon you based on these agreements they made with the speculators. So the corruption is there complete from head to toe. So when you're considering this, that take for instance, if a native standing there to protect the tree. You're standing there to protect the tree from who? From a speculator. You're actually seeing a corporation who is whoever the tree cutter is, you're seeing them and you're thinking that's who you're fighting. That's not who you're fighting. No way. This corruption of capitalism and democracy is so complete, it's a pit of snakes that you can never see. They're intertwined. You can think that you're chopping the head off of one, but it's like that what do they call that? Hedgehog, where you cut off one head and 10 more grows back. And this is what happens. And you look at since 2008, how many heads got cut off in the open market of speculation, like these big trading houses and that? None of them. Well, a couple of them maybe, I think, I don't really know for certain. A couple of them may have went bankrupt. But you know what happened? You bailed them out. You're politicians. Why do you think that happened? Because the speculators in politics that are in between you and your politicians. It wasn't you who told your politicians to bail out these big banks. No way. The speculators told them. The lobbyists. Anyways, so clearly, in the white man's world, they got the corruption so tied up, so complete, that when a native is standing up to fight against them, you cannot fight based on just you're a regular person and you're going to protect the tree, because if you're doing that and you're then succumbing to non-native laws, to so-called Canadian laws, white man's laws. And once you do that, then you're not fighting as a native. So you're really, if you are a native standing and trying to protect something, and you agree to being represented by a lawyer, then you weren't doing nothing at all. You were being just like the white people. And the white people can't do nothing to protect anything. They can't do nothing. Their hands are tied because of the system that they acquiesce to, that they all agreed to by voting in it. Quite simply by voting. And if you never vote, well, it doesn't matter. You just because you don't vote, you can't think that, oh, you could say, oh, I never voted in the system, so I'm not a part of it. By not voting, I'm not telling you to vote, but if you don't vote in there, that's not doing anything. You're allowing it to happen. You cannot not vote and think that you're doing something good. No, you have to actively fight against the corrupted system to expose it and to turn it around. So how many people have done that? Nobody. Nobody. You can all say you fought against corruption, but you fought against corruption from being on the pirate ship. You can't fight against corruption that way. So for Native people, this is the thing that we're coming to as more natives are being dragged into the court system to identify that no native is to use lawyers. No native is to agree to being dragged into their court system. You are to resist, you are to say no, you are to refuse. And you can say, well, you refuse, and then they hold you in contempt of court, and then you got to go to jail. Well, you got to make up your mind what you want to be. You want to be a white man, or you want to be a native? You know that if you want to be a native, well, you're being killed by the white man. So don't think that you're going to get any kind of justice or something like that in your favor. Never going to happen. If you want to be native, stand like a native. Don't act like a white man. Don't use white man's lawyers. Don't agree. Fight it all the way. You know, the position to identify white man's so-called legal system does not apply to us. Okay, so anyways, this is what the agenda is right now. We're working on to establish a meeting with different nations, people who have been fighting in defense from east to west, to discuss about a common approach in the legal department. Okay, so unless anybody wants to say anything about that, then we're gonna move on. Okay, nobody has anything about that. We're not gonna spend a whole heck of a lot of time here tonight because we got a big snowstorm. We got a lot of cleaning up to do. been trying to take care of the driveway again. Somebody gave us another snow blower. Last year, we got a snow blower that didn't work. And now we got another snow blower that doesn't work. So here we were waiting, oh yeah, we're gonna be able to do the driveway, and it ends up that it's a piece of shit snow blower. Doesn't work again. Of course, that's all we're gonna get here. These things that don't work. Okay, so we're not gonna spend much time here tonight. Okay, somebody got their hand up. Let's go right away.
Yeah, it's not to talk too much on it, just, you know, I went and checked out the Green Party in the last whatever federal election, and, you know, what I saw there was just the same, you know, seven-headed dragon snakes or whatever you want to call them. There is my whole being, it just showed me in a final way that it's the white man's system. And so you say, you know, if you don't vote, then, you know, that's not doing anything either. But I know for myself, there's no way I will ever vote, ever. I don't want to be a part of that system. And so for me, I know if I'm going to be pulled in at court in any way of any kind, I'm just going to stand with Mother Earth as her daughter. And then as I learn of the great law of peace, and my dream is that I'll learn and be gifted to be able to apply that. If is that in a good right accord to think like that? And that's it.
Well, okay, for Native people, what I identified was for Native people. Now, what you're talking about for non-Native people, well, this is a different circumstance for you. You know, it's you're fighting something that you are a part of. So you have to first break away from that thing to actually fight it. So this is the thing that from the time of the hippies, you know, everybody was stupid, and hippies, that was their agenda. What was the battle cry there? Drop out.
I tune in,
Tune in,
turn on, tune out, or something like that.
drop out.
Drop out.
Yeah. And that's what they all did. They went and created these little communes, you know, these little areas where they would escape from the craziness of society. And they would go and live there and think that, oh, that they were doing good. That's a lie. It's not true. You gotta have the proper perspective for non-Native people. You gotta have the proper perspective as to what you're a part of. You're on a pirate ship, so just think, a bunch of pirates on a pirate ship, and a couple of pirates say, oh, we don't want to go pirating today, so we're gonna go hide. We're gonna go off to one part of the pirate ship. They're still on the pirate ship, and they're playing there, they're hiding, they're not going pirating. And what happens all that time where they're saying they're pulling themselves out of this corruption? What happens? The corruption continues. They're not doing anything about fighting the corruption. There's a murder going on, and what they do is they turn away from it. This is what the hippies done. Hippies, bullshit. That's what they were. They're a bunch of good people. Yeah, sure, like everybody on earth is good people. But their agenda and what they told everybody what they were doing was one big lie. One big lie. So it's from that time that the white people were tricked into those who think like they want to fight the corrupted system. They don't. They dropped out. And this is what still to this day people are doing. They're saying, oh, let's go out and make a little commune again. There's a hippie movement coming back. You see on social media, you see people posting of their little groups, maybe in Costa Rica or somewhere in Mexico, or even in the States or so-called Canada. They buy a piece of land, and a bunch of them go out and live there, a commune, away from the ravages of society. So they're no longer a part of it. They're free of it. This is a corruption that, of course, as they go and into these little communities, they're pulling themselves out of reality. They're not dealing with any kind of reality. They may think the reality of the destruction that the society is doing is addressed a little bit by them planting, by them doing stuff like that, where now maybe they're using solar power now, solar panels to power them, whatever. But this is, like I said, it's a lie. Solar, wind, no matter what it is, it's all destructive. Big deal. It's not fossil fuel burning engines. Big deal. How is it green? How is it clean? If it extract the materials to build solar panels, to make the batteries, then you gotta do more polluting, more destruction to the earth than what you do by quite simply drilling oil, pumping oil out of the earth and then burning it. There's more damage that is done with these new technologies because it's not something that you could do just like say oil. You could dig a hole in the ground, and if there's oil there, you could extract it. You can set it on fire. You can use it. But the stuff for solar panels, the stuff for lithium batteries for the solar panels, you can't take any of it right out of the earth and just use it in like the way that oil can. Oil has been an ancient energy source that people around the world have used since the beginning of time. But they just haven't, what would you call it, industrialized it. It was the industrialization of it that turned it into a speculator, into an open market, and then from there, just unlimited expansion. And to have unlimited expansion, as you know, is rooted in, you got to have stuff. If you're just building and building stuff, you got to have people to sell that to. So unlimited expansion means unlimited population expansion. And when this is happening, well, you're just caught in a vicious circle, you know, like a dog chasing its tail in circles. So for the non-native people, your approach is gotta be more complete than that, because you're saying, if I ever end up in court, this is the approach I'm going to take. If you got to wait till you're in court to take that approach, then it's too late. It's like saying, if I ever get shot, I'm going to wear a bulletproof vest. But you're not wearing a bulletproof vest. You're only going to wait until you get shot. So once you get shot, then you put on a bulletproof vest. Doesn't stop you from being shot. Doesn't stop you from having the negative impact. So if a person is going to wait until they're in court to have a position, then it's too late, because you're already dragged into court and you're already under that authority. So the non-native world has to come to a realization here, because you just seen what is the grandmother's name that was here? Edith, do you remember?
I don't remember her native name, but it's Rose, how people know her.
Rose, okay. You take, for instance, her. She told us the story about how the defenders, the land defenders there, tried to secure themselves to the tree to prevent them from cutting it down. Okay, so you see native people who right now are being dragged through the mill for this, for protecting the environment. So at what point do you think that that's going to happen to you? It's not going to happen to you. It's never going to happen to you. You're never going to end up in court. So to have that, to say that when I end up in court, this is what I'm going to do, means that the thing isn't being addressed. because you're waiting for something to happen. This is a scenario equivalent. Some of you may don't know this story, that back in the 80s, when in Akwesasne, when they were in civil war, civil strife there, gun battles in the streets after dinner time. Oh, well, it's time to go out and have our gun battle. So they'll sit there and have dinner with their family, and then they'll go out into the street and then they'll shoot at each other. And it went on like that for a few weeks. And fortunately, or unfortunately, 2 people lost their lives in that. Anyways, while that was happening, just when it was starting, I told this story to before, that my family, our longhouse, went to Akwesasne, went around to all the 5 Nations communities, and went to tell all the chiefs that they have to come to Akwesasne to come and address this. And because we said somebody's going to get killed. We said the good people will get killed, not the bad people. Because the bad people were the band system, the warrior society that were pushing casinos. These were the bad people. Today, nobody knows, oh, the warrior society was the bad people. Oh yeah, they were responsible for Native people getting killed. Not that it was non-Native police force killing Native people. It was warrior society that was responsible for Native killing Native. And today there's non-Native people that are wearing warrior society symbols. Stupid people who don't know what the hell they're doing, what they're affiliated to. But it was at that time where we had said to all the chiefs, come here before people get killed. And we ended up on the final day back on the island at the traveling college. Tom Porter was there, and we says, hey, he's ready to do something. This is where we knew that they were just lost. Christian had some Lakers, Tom Porter, my goodness. He stood there and he went like this. Oh, we have to pray for them. There's people right across the river. They told us, oh, you better leave now, because every day at 4 o'clock this time, the bullets start flying right from across the river, right across from where the traveling college is. So sure enough, bullets come flying. So imagine this, you know that every day at 4 o'clock, bullets come flying at you. They're shooting at you. Which means they don't care. They're going to kill somebody. So we said to them that, well, if you don't do something, the good people are going to get killed. And this is where, oh, we got to pray for them. So we got to pray. What is that? You know that somebody is trying to kill somebody, and you don't lift a finger to stop them. They prayed. Tom Porter is actually responsible for the 2 people who lost their lives in Akwesasne, because it was his call that said, no, we're going to pray for them. Because what could we do in Akwesasne if the Akwesasne Orono don't want to heal themselves? They were committing suicide. We went to try and stop them. But at a certain point, when that person who wants to commit suicide picks up the gun and is going to try to put it to their head, you can try to grab that gun from them, but they don't care about life at that time. They just as easily kill you. So for the non-Native people, this is where you're at right now. You're in that time, in that scenario. If you don't take action, the good people are going to get killed. Who's the good people? Do non-Native people care about all the good Native people who are standing on the line, who are protecting and defending land, defending trees, defending water? All the white people just go about their daily business, destroying it all. And where there's other white people who say, oh, we're not a part of these other white people, but they're not doing anything about those white people who are out to kill the good people. You got to think about what is the non-Native agenda. What's the identity? So you got to stop and think, what does it mean when I say, if I ever end up in court for what you know people are ending up in court for right now? It just means that you are acknowledging that people are there in court and they're gonna go to court, drive to court, they're the ones defending, and really, you're doing nothing about it. There is a new approach that you must take, not the approach that the non-native people have been taken, because there is no approach that the non-native people have been taken. So there is something that you have to wake up to in order to not allow jurisprudences to take place, that by the time you do end up in court and you think you're going to take that position, your hands will actually be tied. Because how can you, a non-native person, take any kind of position in court for defending the land if native people are going through the court systems for defending the land and getting criminalized for it? What do you think will happen to you?
Well, exactly same thing.
So you gotta stop and look that the agenda that the non-native people have been blindly accepting is what you gotta break out of. You can't say if and when this happens to me, because it's already happening all around. If you're waiting for if and when it happens to me, this means you're looking at all the strong ones are being whittled away. And if all the strong ones are being whittled away, because those are the first line of defense, those are the strong ones. Those are the ones who go to there first. When they hear, is there a doctor in the house? They'll go running there first. The ones at the end, they're not the strong ones. So this is where, again, the non-native people have to awaken out of their slumber. They're just basically doing nothing while the non-native people collectively have been destroying the world, the earth. So how can any non-native people say that I don't want to destroy the earth when the gang that you're a part of is destroying the earth? You got to prove that you don't want to destroy the earth by actually going against what the agenda is of the gang that you're a part of. You got to prove it. Can you prove it? Put yourself in the shoes of all the non-native people when the native children were being kidnapped and dragged to the residential British Nazi residential school concentration camps. What did all the good non-native people do? Nothing. Nothing. So you know what that means? They were all a bunch of murderers, all a bunch of kidnappers. If you don't want to be a murdering kidnapper, you have to stand up against that. So to say, if it ever happens to me, is not standing up against it. A new action, meaning a proper perspective as to what is really happening in the world, is what you have to arrive at. All non-native people have to. Okay, I don't know if you got anything that you want to say back on that.
Yeah, I do. Well, there's one thing is that of that part of that hippie world, they all became landowners, and that's how they make their money now. They all buy land, they go around the world to native worlds and buy up cheap land and make their money and become millionaires. And I've watched what happened with Claquit in all the protests, and basically it brought all the tourism, and now, you know, the whole Tofino area is a total sellout, and all the hippies are landowners. And it was the Americans who bought the land and started selling it. I try to talk to my friends and, you know, tell them that, you know, you're exactly the colonial empire, because you're buying the land. And it's not even just buying a home for that you have a home. You buy land and you sell it, and you buy it and you sell it, and you buy it and you sell it. And I agree with what you're saying. But, you know, like I went to Fairy Creek. I mean, because of my hip, I couldn't even barely walk. I could, I know for a fact that it was all the native youth that were being beaten up by the RCMP, and the whites were being thrown into the vehicles and made to watch their native brothers and sisters be beaten up. I know it's the RCMP in the Fairy Creek area, that's on the island, that's where they make all their pension money from. So it's a paramilitary, mercenary paramilitary outfit. You know, I'm older. I mean, I went and and like you say about, you go to protests and they just see, what they, what you're up to. And then, that is a given. Then they use your psychology on you. They, send it back to you as if, they're so aware. And the last one I went to, buy a bunch of food for the young people because they just had like lousy coffee and sugar. And I came back to see that they were all beaten up. And I stood there and, I called them all out. I mean, I'm got a picture of me telling the truth of where my heart and mind is at. And, 14 cops had to turn away from me. They couldn't keep standing there mocking me. I always say I made the mistake of leaving to follow the young people to the court place, because I really lost the opportunity to really watch the elite police military of the Vancouver city, who they are and what they really look like. So, this is why I ask these questions, because my path was always to work with children, to be that person to bring love into the world. And I've been to so many places, standing up in solidarity. I mean, I know once I have got a great story, because I went to, when they murdered those French newspaper thing for mocking the Muslims, I went to observe that one. And it was two French guys from France. It was an Irish priest and a Jewish somebody, and they were all on about free speech. So I went to go up and speak, and these two tall French guys who had already spoken on free speech, I said to them, excuse me, and I went to move through them. They said to me, what do you want to do? I said, well, I want to go and talk to the people. So I went to move through, and both of these men literally put both their hands on my body and to stop me. And, I always say I've got the East End kid in me. So I just backed off, went around and up to the top. And I was very nervous, because I can talk like this, but, I can be very nervous to talk as well. And I just thought I had to let all the people know they're on native land. This is Turtle Island. And I don't remember what I said, but someone told me that I had there was a big crowd response to what I was saying, but I just reaffirmed on whose land everybody was on. And I'm telling this story to ask is, I don't mind being a fool and not knowing what to do and what to say, because I want to learn. So is this what you talk about, is to be and stand up in that way and speak out? Because I know with my friends, majority of them, they don't even want to know me anymore, because they are so sick and tired of me talking and, whose lands we're on, that we're part of the colonial empire, and they just basically, nobody wants anything to do with me anymore. And so I guess that'll just be it on that, and to ask for the wisdom of what you mean to actually have examples of what you mean to.
Okay, well, look, people have been, everything that I just said, you gotta think about the worlds that you're caught in between. You can't talk like that. Nobody wants to hear that when you say, I've done this, I've done that, I was here, I was there. The moment that you say that, no native wants to hear that. No native person is hearing anything else after that. You can't talk like that. I done this, I done that. You got to look at what has been done, what everybody has done, and you got to consider, has it been effective? No, it hasn't. No. So let's see. Native people are there defending from, not defending from trees being cut down. They're defending from genocide. Who's it happening to? It's happening to Native people. By who? By white people, by non-Native people. That's who it's happening to. So what you got to think of here is that, where's the best place to go to? Is it to go to that tree? What happened to those people? Was it successful? No, it wasn't successful. Many of those people who were there to talk or to take action, their voices were shut up, right?
Mhm.
Through that action, their voices were shut right down. Because the moment they're dragged through court, the moment they get beat up by a cop, they're dragged through court as resisting arrest. And if you're resisting while you're protesting, you're not a protester. That is a person who is just like what they're identifying as a terrorist. They're an economic terrorist. They're domestic terrorists. Has that approach been successful? Did anybody succeed? Any non-native people succeed? No, not at all. So how come people are non-native people can't be creative in this? Why do they keep doing the same action when they know that it's not successful? You got to be creative. When native people are very creative, obviously, in order for us to still be fighting genocide for 500 years, either we were very stupid, we should have been snuffed out a long time ago, or else we're very creative in adjusting to all the insanity of the non-native society. You gotta be just as creative. The non-native people have to be creative. Stop doing what hasn't worked. So going there to protest hasn't worked. You obviously got to do something else. Well, you know where the native people can use the non-native people? For instance, Ferry Creek, what you talked about, you know where they could use you? In the city, at the provincial legislature. That's where they could have used you. That's where all the non-native people should have went together and to expose the genocide. Because if you're out there protesting. If you're a non-native person, you're out there at that tree that's getting cut down, you're out there protesting. You're protesting a tree being cut down. So all the non-native people that were there were addressing a tree being cut down. When the real issue is the genocide of the people. So do non-native people think that they actually help? Well, you know what? The native people, when they see non-native people come out and they want to do something, of course, we see it's a good-hearted person. They want to do something. So, okay, yeah, we accept them, but they're not really doing anything. They're not getting a damn thing done. Think about it. How many non-native people over the past 500 years, there had to be at least a couple who didn't agree with what was being done? Did they make it known? No. You can't think of one person in non-native history since they've been here for 500 years, except the guy, whatever his name was, that played that role or became the person, Grey Owl. That's one white person, one European in 500 years who actually went out to address his people and to show the genocide, to talk about it, to show the corruption of the destruction that they were doing. That was addressing. But you got to address the proper thing. Again, you go and you, at the protest of the tree, you were protesting quite simply a tree being cut down. And you, as a citizen, are part of a process that gave the right to that tree being cut down. So the non-native people who are there, it's really ridiculous. They don't think it out. It's not thought out as to what it means, what the people are doing. What categorization are they under? That's why I said you have to remove yourself first to be able to fight it. If you go and fight it while you're a part of it, you're punching yourself in the face. You're defeating yourself. This is the non-native people. The non-native people have been can say like a moral support. That's all. But hey, do we need moral support? Come on. Native people do not need moral support from non-native people. We can't get any from non-native people. It's an imagined. So a new approach, and this is where you got to rack your brain. Now you're part of a woman's nation, then rack your brain as to what the non-native people could actually do that is actually going to be a benefit, where you're not going to be watching children getting violated, because that's what happened. Every person who was there was as a child, even the eldest one. They were as a child getting violated because they were unaware, not up to speed as to what they were really battling, what is really going on there. Okay, anyways, so this is a challenge. It's a challenge to the non-native people that, yes, whoever you are, yes, I'll admit it, there is good non-native people out there, but no matter how many good non-native people that are out there, yous are not doing anything that is of like a legitimate action, advancing what you think you want. It's not happening. So through the two-row wampum, understanding it, applying it to yourself, then you're going to see where you got to apply the medicine. We got to think like a doctor. Look at this body. The body is saying one thing and it's doing another thing. Okay, that tells you can't trust it. You can't trust that person. You're like a lifeguard swimming out into the water to go and try to save somebody that's flailing around, and they're going to drown you. You can't trust what they're saying. When you can't trust what they're saying, you have to remove yourself from that group, that person. You have to remove yourself so that you are not responsible. How can you right now say you are not responsible for absolutely all the genocide that's happening here in Turtle Island? This way, then you can examine and be more precise about what your actions will be to have a positive action. Because right now, like I said, everybody's taking the same actions. All non-native people who want to help or want to support native people, they're all doing the exact same thing. Nothing. Go there. Oh yeah, we'll see their faces. Yeah, that's good support, but it's not the actual support that's needed. You got to stop being that pirate on that pirate ship. That's what you got to do. Every non-native person has to do that. Believing that you are, like the way the hippies did, well, they were just oblivious. They were too drugged out of their minds to know the reality of what their political categorization was. So don't fall into that same thing. Be realistic of what your political categorization is. Assess yourself. Am I free of it? Am I free of them? Can I fight them? Because if you're not free of them and you fight them, you're fighting yourself. That's a person who thinks they're coming to the fight and they're on our side, but they're actually on their side. It gets confusing over here on our side, because then there's a lot of white people who are there, but their actual status is not the same. There'd be one white person here who is of a good political standing, and another person who's not, but they're both standing there saying they're fighting the same thing. You know what that means? That means that somebody on the battlefield ends up getting stabbed in the back. Who do you think it is? It's not the good person. It's the person who's allowed themselves to convince themselves that they're a good person when they actually aren't, when they're actually connected to the corruption. Okay, so Woman's Nation is going to have to start to adjust this. What can yous do to create like a cookie cutter mold, so to speak, to apply it in each community, in each place where there's the flare up? And there's flare ups everywhere. Wherever there's a Native person, there is a flare up. Because you know that the bottom line is we can't exist. In order for all the white people to be here, we can't exist. So right now, as you're seeing us still being here, it's because the whole process of the whites being here is a changeover. They're eliminating the Native people. So while you're standing here seeing some of us, you think that maybe you're on the same level. No, you're not. You're in a process of eliminating us. You got to understand that. You, just by being, are in a process of eliminating us. Think of, again, spiritual, physical, spatial displacement syndrome. Everybody is, one way or another, they're a part of it, or either on the shit end of the stick, or they're on the shit end of the stick, because they're both shit ends of the stick. You got to be stupid to apply it, and to resist it, you got to be the smartest. This is what I say. I know that my ancestors were the smartest people on the planet because they achieved peace. I know that the white people were the stupidest people on the planet because they're still stuck in war. So they can't understand anything about anything. So if white people want to come over to proper state of humanity, then you cannot tell us what you got to do or what you're doing. We'll tell you what you got to do. And this is what you got to do. You got to come together as a body and go into your legislatures and to identify that their expansionism into native lands or into native territories and expansion just as a whole is genocide upon the native people, and that this is illegal. Because genocide, as identified by the United Nations, is clearly what is being inflicted upon just the people at Fairy Creek. You look at the United Nations, what they identify as what constitutes genocide. You know that just my case, what the United Nations identifies constitutes genocide. What everybody is doing, the non-native people, is they're watching us fight. They're watching us fight off this rapist while yous are actually standing behind the rapist watching us fight off this rapist when you could jump on the back of that rapist and pull them off. But there's no non-native people doing that. That is not happening because the non-native people are doing what they want. Because non-native people are smart. They think that they are the smartest people on the planet. Well, they don't know. They're ass from their elbow. And they don't know how to deal with their own corruptions. They don't know how to pull their head out of the darkness of war. So that tells you that, hey, if you've been at war for thousands of years, you are amongst the stupidest people ever to exist. When knowing that the people who these stupid warmongers referred to as savages, that we pulled our heads out of war thousands of years ago. Wow. Tells you something about where the brains are on this planet and who's working with brains and who isn't. So non-native people, you got to start listening. Forget about your ideas. Any ideas you got, forget about it. I don't want to hear them. If you want to help, you want to stop the genocide, the corruption, the destruction of the earth, you got to listen to us the way that we tell you. You got to move when we tell you. You got to jump when we say jump. You got to do precisely what we tell you to do when we tell you to do it. And so right now, what you got to do, white people, you've got to go to the legislatures in BC, and you could go there to defend against the land defenders who were protecting the trees there at Fairy Creek. Don't let it go into court to be decided. Have the people decide it outside of court. Go there, raise your ruckus there, bring a 3-ring circus outside of that legislature and say, this is the place that is genociding upon the people, and show the images. Look, here's the genocide. Here's the tree. This is what they wanted. These were the people who were standing in between what they wanted. Native people. Show the tree cut down. What do you think had to happen in order for that tree to be cut down? They had to go through the native people. Do it. Show it. Take the proper action. Non-native people want to be thinking that they're so good or whatever. Look at these phony ass Green Party. The Green Party, all of them, all the white people in the Green Party are the ones who should have been out there at Fairy Creek, because they say they're Green Party. You know that Green Party are all a bunch of goddamn liars, because they were not out there to protect. They were out there, if they were any out there or in support at all, they were supporting their own system, because they're Green Party. Green Party is a part of the political landscape of so-called Canada. So which so-called Green Party person actually helped? None. They're a bunch of goddamn liars. That's what they are. I warned Elizabeth May personally not to leave the Sierra Club of Canada. That if she did and go to take over the Green Party, run for the Green Party, that she will be losing everything that she stood for. And that's what's happening, because now all she could do is just watch it all. Watch all what she was standing against before, and she was impacting, having an impact. No, all she could do is, her hands are tied, because she's a politician. She's a part of that landscape. So anybody who's a part of the Green Party is part of that landscape. If Elizabeth May can't do anything, then none of those people could do anything. So how could anybody be allowing themselves to think that they done something? They didn't. Okay, so you've got a lot on your plate.
Mhm.
Got to do. This is out there in BC. So you're out there in BC. You got to get the ball rolling out there.
Yeah.
I'm not out there to go and do something. You've seen what we done here, even for 2 French people who were protecting, trying to do something about the wetlands. We went to court. We went with them. You can do something for the native people over there. Don't go to the court. Well, if you could support them that way too, but go to the legislature and tell them, stand there, get the media attention. Bring a 3-ring circus out there. Get a dancing monkey. Rent a dancing monkey. Put him in a 3-piece suit. Dress him up like one of your premiers or one of your politicians. And to get a fake tree. Get a tree out there, like a Christmas tree, perfect at this time of year, and have that dancing monkey go there and push that tree over. And have some natives, like maybe some dolls in front of that monkey, that that monkey would just go right through to get it at that tree. Be creative. There's no excuse for the non-native acquiescence. Because that's what's happening. All the people, all the non-native people who say it or who claim they're green or they want to protect the environment, they're acquiescing to murderers. That's a fact. So there, I just gave you one idea, so there's that much you don't have to rack your brain on. So that's something that you can do there to help the people, the grandmother there, the other people who are protecting, defending. Yeah, so
Thank you.
do stuff.
The only reason I say I, Stuart, is because I'm a loner. I try to bring, you know, people into a circle to do something, and nobody wants to be a part of it. So that's why.
Okay,
So
you see, do you see anybody with me? You
no, no, and that's why I want to close in thanking you, because I have visualized and seen myself going, I've said to myself, well, Kel, you're just going to have to go stand with a sign, like you said, at the legislature, go stand in the front of the city hall and go stand in Victoria. And so now I do have the health and physical ability to do that. And I'm going to take your lead on it. Thank you. And I just want to thank the Life Givers Nation, because Marie-Claude, you were saying, you know, about going into the courts, and I was saying not to do that in the sense, in another meaning, but I would, if as the part of the Life Givers Nation, I would be more than happy to gather and figure out a way, like, how do we go and get ourselves into the legislature? I mean, if you're saying even as into the UN, any of those places, and just keep speaking out.
You gotta be creative.
Yeah.
And as for that being alone, you know, you've been here. You know that I stand alone here in Ganawagi. Ganawagi is like a population of 8,000 people. There's nobody that I stand with in Ganawagi. No one. I don't communicate with anybody in Ganawagi on any of the levels of anything that we're doing, on anything of importance, because Ganawagi is a trivial. It's a triviality. And so you see me by myself. I don't need anybody to, hey, let's do this or let's do that or whatever. If I'm doing stuff, and if somebody says, well, maybe this or that, we'll look at the ideas and, oh yeah, okay, but we're already in motion. It's not like these people are what's getting us in motion. We're in motion. But also, you know, as a matter of fact, I'm by myself, but you never hear me saying I. Never. Don't ever do that. And there's no excuse, because I just said you don't do that. And when you came back to say this is the reason why, that's the excuse. There's no excuse.
So
if you are standing for a tree, then it's we.
Okay.
Not I. Okay, so this is the part of the approach that everybody's got to take, as you know, as to the perception that the non-native people have of the native people, is that it's like we're almost like our brains are interlinked, because we're all standing for the same thing. We're all standing for the same thing because we know what's right, we know what's true, we know what's just. So the non-native people got to do the same thing. And when you stand for what's right and what's just, then you're in a righteous position. When you're in a righteous position, you are representing not only the current, you're representing the past and the future generations. So it's always we. But in order to speak like that, you better make damn well sure that you are a we, that you are not an individual. So that's one of the things also that you're going to be careful if you're going to claim that. If you're going to say we, because anybody, a native person, will jump all over you at any instance the moment that it'll be detected that you're not an actual we, that you're just an I. So the I must become a we. All righty, let's move on then. There's two other people, is there? Is that what that is?
There's 3 other people.
Okay, well, 3, and then that's it, because like we said, what time is it already?
It's 8:37.
Okay, so who's the other one? Who's the first one had their hand up?
Elsa.
All right. Hi, everybody. Skanangwa. My name is outside the Revolution, granddaughter of Leah, great granddaughter of Anina. I'm from Wabanaki Nation and in Life Givers Nation. I'm a temporary Bear Club member. So I just wanted to address what Kelly just said. You know, like whenever you said, oh, my friends don't want to be around me no more and blah blah, and the way you were talking about how lately you defended in a public manner to defend Turtle Island and original people. Like Stuart said, well, you need to stop using the I first thing, but also, and this is also addressing the RCMP letter. We need everybody, native or non-native, need to, if you want to bring out the truth, you have to think psychologically how you do it. What word are you using? In what manner do you say it? Because corporations and narcissistic people and sociopath and psychopaths, if you are not wise in the words you use, they don't hear you. The mind is getting shut really quickly. So you need to find a way to address things with them. So if you want to expose them, you need to be, as Stuart said, be creative about how you do it. Because it's gonna be un coup d'épée dans l'eau. Like it's gonna be a move, like as Stuart said, well, don't bring the same behavior on and on and on. People are yelling, you know, when you go in public and you protest the same way, or you just point people at the mic and you tell them truthfully what they do, but you don't think about how you say it, then you will get caught being like our paratonnerre in French. We say that, you know, the pole that is getting the lightning, like you don't want your house to be on fire, so you want, how do you call it?
I'm looking for it. I don't know the word. Lightning rod.
Oh, lightning.
Something that's attracting the lightnings.
Yeah, lightning rod.
Pardon me?
Lightning rod.
So just saying, like, if people are, if you bring the same fashion, the same behavior on and on and on, then people run away from you. They don't listen to you no more. So you need to find a way, maybe to first thing, yeah, like Stuart said, change the way you express yourself. And then the way you dress people. Just saying that. Thank you.
You know, a prime example of what she identified about what I said earlier about that you have to separate yourself from it before you fight against it.
Mm.
Think of this guy in the States, Alex Jones. We talked about him a couple of weeks ago. He was the guy that he's got, I don't know, a podcast or something like this. I've never heard him. I've never seen any of his, whatever he does, but he was doing a denial of the school shootings that were taking place in the States. And he was claiming that they were crisis actors, that the people who were on the news, you know, like being interviewed and stuff, that saying that they were crisis actors. Anyways, whether it's true or not, supposedly we're in a country where you have freedom of speech, anybody can say anything. That's freedom of speech. As long as you don't like mislead people into into violence or something like that, you got the complete freedom to say anything that you want. So that's what you imagine. Well, look at what happened with Alex Jones. Well, they couldn't find him guilty of anything in criminal courts, so they take him to civil court and sue him there, and the civil courts rule against him for, I forget how many billions or hundreds of millions, a ridiculous amount that he can't pay it, that he's got to go bankrupt. So it tells you that if you are a non-native person and you think you're gonna just be vociferous about something, you got to think twice about what you're gonna do. You got to be very careful about what you're gonna do. You got to be certain of your two-row wampum protection. If you don't have two-row wampum protection, then just like what happened with Alex Jones, he's gonna lose everything. And once you file for bankruptcy in the non-native system, you know, of course they say after 7 years, well, that record goes away. Well, it doesn't at all. But even if it did, it's not going to change the fact that the court's ruling against you establishes that you are in that system, but you're like you'd be like a second-class citizen. You'd be just a person subjected to it. Yeah, okay, anyways, let's go then. Who's next?
Gloria.
Hola, Alolo. A ver que si me sale la cámara. Buenas noches. Good evening, everybody. Buongiorno. Bon dia. I wanted also to, to participate because I really love, like I'm going like a continue, the chapter, second chapter, so on. We don't, we the people don't realize the basic things, that we have the reservations for the native people, for the original people. And then we have the cities or what they call asentamientos. I don't know how you call that in English. Where the settlers, they call the settlers, the invaders came and start opening, they asked the Indians to give them some land. So in that land, they start building, these asentamientos, which is, like with all the walls, surrounding with the walls. And the Indians didn't know why they was doing, but in fact, that was an act of war because they was coming with the agenda of exterminating the original people, because this is not a new thing that they have done here in Abdayala or Torol Island. They have been doing that before for hundreds of years. Everywhere that they went, they have to create an asentamiento, and then they have to create, you know, these cities and castles and everything where they are not fired back, even for the same people who has for some way welcomed them or invite them to come, or they just went and invade by force. So I'm going to share one, you know, this video that I was watching today, and I will give you the site at the end. You know, it says that you know, about the Jewish or the Nazis in Germany. You know, that they went there the same as like maybe, you know, finding refuge or seeking the commerce. They start arriving in that location in Germany and all over the Europe, but they talking about the Germany. And they said that, you know, when the Nazis, you know, find out that they didn't want to spend too much money or resources handling the Jewish, the ghettos that where the Jewish live, and the cities that they was opening for them. So what they did, they hired all the Jewish and give them a better job, good pay, clothing, or more privilege to handle their own Jewish. So that's how they become the lower class, you know, class or the poor Jewish. I mean, you know, Jewish in general. They become slaves of the Nazis, or however they was brought into this genocide later. So then they show in this you know, presentation, they say that the majority of people I'm talking now the total island here in the United States or America, no? They say the majority of the white people, remember the European people, and people from other nations also that comes and lives in these asentamientos inside the cities. Without knowing, we are already like agreeing without knowing what we're doing to accept all the, you know, the political sides or the, you know, choose one party or the other that they give us. Nothing that is beyond or away from what they are offering us. And the majority of people today, we have come to be accustomed to use only the left side of the brain. And this one, the left side, you know, it says what they have is the neuroscience in Germany. They up to now they have been studying the way that the brain works, what the left side does and what the right side does. So what they have done is, you know, to cancel the right side, like you always you know, talk, and let only the left side be active. Why? Because the neuroscience, they already studied this. You know, you remember all the millions of people that they kill in Russia, in Germany, and all the European. It was, you know, like piles of millions of people, like 75% at least of the population. They took all the studies to be studied. They studied every single member, or every piece of the body. They studied already the psychology, the brain, how it works and how it functions and how they can control fully. So it says that when your left hemisphere is hormonal, this is interesting because this is the first time that I hear these things. It's hormonally, the left side is hormonally retarded and perceptually line up in this is cognitively impaired. In the vision of your right hemisphere, we don't think about the right hemisphere. Your left hemisphere is perceptive, left dominated. It defines who you are, and it decides who you think you are. We refer as the brain, but the neuroscience is materialistic and humanistic. Say it can not be explained. It cannot explain the neuroscience. So they know exactly that we cannot, define not even who we are, because what we think we are not. So how they keep us distracted is by shopping, getting busy, go work, shop, go work. So and that defines who you are. And then it was saying in this observation that the people, the more that you work, the more that you make money, the more unhappy that you are. In fact, because we don't become happy by buying all these piles of things that we not even needed, we are totally unhappy, and we are enslaved with ourselves within our left brain. So this is a very nice study that I'm not going to take too much time. So maybe you can help us expand the next conversation, to tell us what missing, what are we missing with the right side of the brain that is not actually, we are not using. And also, but they already find out after the Second War, the Nazis, they already knew, because they came to the US. So everybody knows that they came with the, NASA and ONU actually are agencies of the Britain, the queens and kings of Britain, and the Vatican. People, or even that don't have any much knowledge, they already know this. And they knew, because, the presentation, I will, like I said, give you at the end, they find out already that the only one who is with the brain, normal, perfect, beautiful, and able to absorb anything are the babies, are the new babies. And they showed, an art form that all the brains of the adults that are being programmed, we are like a square brain. Yeah, it's already molded into a square brain with no function of the right side. So this is why they try to apply, they have been applying up to 24 vaccines for a child at the early age to break that brain for that child that can never achieve, as a complete human being. So that explains the stupidity, why we act so stupid, and it's more into, this presentation that I'm sorry, I didn't give you the site. I'm going to give you so everybody can watch, and maybe you can even, have your own conclusions. It's www.infowindnews.com. www.infowindnews.com. Thank you.
Would it be easier? Can she share that? Like, where it could be the
I
actual
got to
link?
write it down. Yeah, I got to write it down, because this
No,
presentation.
I mean, instead of writing
she's
it down,
gonna-
can she share her screen?
Well, she's gonna put it
Yeah,
on-
bueno, que no sé, déjame ver. I don't think you can see, because it's.
Well, no, not like that. On their computer, they're gonna let you share the screen, and that way it could be
Oh,
shared.
I can't. I don't know that how. I wish I know, because otherwise I will be putting all these videos that I watch. But some videos we cannot do it. We can do it.
Okay, all right, then, well.
I
then
got to write it down, and then you can share with everybody.
Yeah.
Thank
Clearly,
you.
as you identified that they've been doing studies, experimental studies
Uh-huh.
for hundreds of years, going back to when they started the so-called medical industry. I forget the name of this painting. Everybody is familiar with this painting one way or another. It's a painting in Europe. It looks like European, what they call noblemen or something like this, that they're standing around a dead body, and the body's cut open. The body's got no shirt on, they're cut open, and there's obviously a person who's professing to be a teacher or something, who's standing there, and he's got a stick pointing, and they're looking at the body. Anyways, that's to symbolize when medical industry became the corruption that it is now. But ever since, they've been doing all kind of studies on specifics, very, very specific things about the complete human experience. As you know, like we posted a couple of months back about there's in the Netherlands, there's a museum or they call a museum, you want to call it that, a place where they house thousands of brains, human brains that somebody took out of heads. Hopefully they were all dead humans, but anyways, this is what they done to study. And you think of who would do something like that? Think of this, of all the people that any of us know, imagine somebody close to you dying. Are you going to take their brain out of their head? Would you do that? Well, my friend is dying, or my wife is dying, or my father's dying. Well, I'm going to take the brain out of their head. Who in their right mind would ever think of something like that? Who would conceive of it? Who would be insane enough to carry that out? So anyways, that's just one little example of the insanity that is being inflicted upon humanity in the so-called name of science, that in the name of science, people allow themselves to be poked and prodded and tested. Here in Montreal, in the Montreal area, we hear this commercial on the radio all the time. Now it's like such a ridiculous thing. It's almost like a play, this commercial. Oh, I forget how it starts off, but oh, I done something good for all of us, for all of humanity, and I made $2,000 doing it. And they says, oh yeah, really? What'd you do? Says, oh, well, I was testing, I forget how they say it, but experimental drugs, you know, like they got to do tests on humans. So they say, oh, I done this test, and here they do a lot of these tests in the Montreal area because there's a lot of pharmaceutical companies here. And so they're promoting it like, oh yeah, it's a good thing. You can make money being a human test monkey, a human experimental test monkey. So this kind of stuff is so, like I said, so concise, so down to a science that, what is that?
That's the site that Gloria was talking about. It's
Oh, okay.
very heavy. It took a long time to open.
Okay. So if anybody wants to check that out, that's where the link is there. But just to say also, we got to be very careful about the stuff that we absorb off of the internet. Okay, so many experiments being done, even to know about how your pinky toe works, how it moves. A study to know about how your hair grows, and all of this to where the complete human is studied so completely, where now, as you know, not only have we duplicated the human genome, but now we've created the artificial DNA. What the hell's the name of it?
Is that CRISPR?
Synthetic DNA, human DNA that anyone can access, and online also anyone can access CRISPR. So you know what? Basically, anyone now can make a human. This is how much humans have been studied so completely that science can create a human. Science can create a human, as you know, like through test tube babies, but it still kind of needs humans for that. Well, you know that we're this close to the technology of artificial wombs, where science doesn't need humans to create humans. So humans, through their pursuit of their own stupidity, have enslaved themselves to becoming irrelevant. The living human. We will be reproduced and cloned as a spiritless human, as the worker for the artificial intelligence. And artificial intelligence will then, just like these, what are they called? Zombie parasite bugs. You're seeing this all of a sudden in the news and social media. where there's a parasite that eats out the whole body of this particular beetle. The beetle's body is like it's eaten out. The brain, the head is eaten out. And this parasite just utilizes the central nervous system of the beetle. This is what's being done to humans. Artificial intelligence is doing that to us, where artificial intelligence can create a human, a non-tangible human, and then put its artificial intelligence inside of that non-tangible human. And you and I would think it's a human, but it's not a human. I would say that these are already amongst us. They're already walking amongst us. And so the complete undermining of humanity is taking place, and you and I are participating in it by going along with the billionaires who we think are humans, but are leading us into artificial intelligence. So are those billionaires actually humans? Look at Elon Musk, the one who was speaking against artificial intelligence and then who took over artificial intelligence, and him saying that in order for our species to survive, we got to leave the planet. This is not a human talking. The human said something about we got to be careful with artificial intelligence. And then artificial intelligence overtook the human. And so now everyone thinks it's Elon Musk, but it's artificial intelligence that's overtaken him. And so you don't have to have, say, like your internal guts and brains and functions all ripped out of you to be artificial intelligence. You don't have to have that. People don't even know already how they are already artificial intelligence. Who doesn't have their brain box, that central nervous system, connected to their head all the time? Who's not always looking in it? Who doesn't have that? The people are already artificial intelligence. It's just a matter of time before a couple of generations. Right now, you'll say, everyone on earth will say, no, we're not getting chips implanted in us. No. 2 generations from now, the whole world will have this implanted into them, because this generation has their head glued to that little box that connects them to artificial intelligence. The next generation has it in their ear. So we could see that we're moving away from this device that's a phone or whatever. Now it's in our ear. And so next logical step is just to have it an implant, where we're not going to have a physical thing. We'll just have to say hello, and we'll hear voices in our head, and somebody's talking to us, and we're communicating with them, and we're getting commercials in our head, just like we used to get subliminal commercials in our head, and we would go and buy stuff. So now, it's just going to be flicked on. Okay, everybody, go to this store at 10 o'clock for this. And artificial intelligence is about consuming. The population is consumers. And as you said about shopping, remember what George Bush said, that right at the day after 9/11, he told everybody, go out and shop, to keep everybody as a bunch of brain dead zombies. Okay, so we get the chance, we'll take a look at this documentary that you're talking about. All right.
I wanted to add the 2 things that is very important. The blood, the blood test that we have, everybody in the planet has done a blood test. And the blood test was already taken, stolen from humanity and send it to storage, I think in China, and probably they have in other places too. Yeah, so they already have the DNA of humans, and so they can clone any human because they already have that one. And another thing is that you say, go, shop. Yeah, that's what people do. But let me tell you that I watch another place that, these people have filmed underneath this, they said that universities in United States, and also underneath the Walmarts are actually FEMA camps, and they have the prisons, they have everything, they have clothes, in Texas and I think in California with the excuse that they're fixing pipes underneath. Pero you know, they say, well, how long time is taking to fix it? No, they are storaging all the food and weapons, missiles, all the missiles, all the thousands of vehicles, you know, military vehicles are underneath. All those trucks are not bringing clothes for the people only to shop. Actually, they making more billions because in the weaponry, because this Walmart, they are going to be supplying the weapons for any rally, or you know, if the cities find out that you know that they don't like whatever the government, they go outside to protest. Already the militaries are underneath waiting for the call, and they are connected from Washington to Texas and from New York to you know, to all the United States, and even across in the whole world. They have this underneath bank to where all these, you know, what they call, you know, mafias are hiding. All the Illuminatis are hiding there. So as I wanted to share that too. Okay, thank you. Sorry, I'm sorry.
All righty. Okay, yeah, it's basically information. There's really nothing to respond to there. It's information that is there for anybody to access. This is the thing about what I've seen with the non-native people, is that the brain, the mind for all of us is a sponge, but the stuff that is going into the brains, the sponge of the non-native people, it's managed, it's controlled. You're not having access to the natural things or the important things. You're having like commercials, non-native people. It's like you're living a commercial. This is what your brain is exposed to. One commercial after another, one consumer product after another, one sale after another, one event after another. And you look what happens in these things. The epitome of capitalism, of that practice of consumerism, is played out, as you know, around Christmas time, with everyone purchasing, buying, but also at what just passed, what everybody knows as Black Friday. So let's consider what has been happening in these events, because these are events. It's not just another shopping day. Black Friday is an event. And you look at what has been, I would say, over the last 25 years, 20 to 25 years, where Black Friday has become this new monster, where people will be waiting at the doors to stores, and as soon as the doors open, like thousands of people flow in, like as if water is flowing in to these department stores or whatever. And what happens? You see it in the news. You see it in videos. People placing these videos on social media of, oh, they're fighting over a television. They're fighting over a doll. They're fighting over something else, whatever. It's consumerism, that they're fighting over it. So it shows you what consumerism is. It's war. It's a battlefield. And what happens on a battlefield? What happens at war? People get killed. This is what takes place within these events. So right now, you may not see somebody maybe getting killed. You don't know it. But how many of these mass shootings recent have been centered around that? We don't know, because the stuff now of these mass shootings or whatever, they're not giving you the information. They're withholding information, because they know now that if they give all the information, that the public will be able to see as to what is really happening around us. You know, this is part and parcel of what was said about this Alex Jones as to why they shut him down. Why? In a so-called country where you got freedom of speech, you can say anything. You can say that the president is whatever, that if one of their family members got killed, you could say, no, they didn't. They didn't get killed. they were crisis actors. You can say that. There's no crime in saying that. So it's showing us that everything is getting amped up. The violence is in the beginning of something. You may not see the violence, but as it grows, then you see it turn into the violent monster that it was designed to be. But your average person doesn't see this kind of stuff. Their mind isn't going to be open to the bigger things that are happening to them. Okay, let's move on. Who's next?
Yeah, I'm next. Hello, everyone. I'm Marie-Claude, great-granddaughter of Marie-Louise, granddaughter of Yvette, and daughter of Francine, temporary Bear Clan representative in the Givers Nation. Tonight, well, I just wanted to add on what Kelly was discussing with Stuart and in relation to what's going on with in Fairy Creek. I researched it, and the company that is actually cutting those 750 years old tree, they're called Teal Jones. And I'm just like, so of course, upset with how they position themselves. And I have a suggestion that came in of action that we could do. This is them. I looked online very quickly. There are millions and millions of dollars. I think they're worth like $110 million. They have 25 mills. And this is where this is so sickening. They have a place, you know, where they talk about indigenous engagement. And this is where it's so sickening, because as if they don't know that they're actually, you know, killing the indigenous, you know, the original people from there. And you can tell, you know, they really go with the UNDRIP thing, you know, the United Nations, that we know it's a bunch of, you know, lies and reconciliation. So anyways, just looking at their website, I just already like my teeth are growing. So, and I was thinking, we could do an action we could do with this is, like Stuart said, Life Givers Nation, we have to be clever in the way we approach these, but I see a direct link there that we could, at the same time, we denounce what they're doing and we promote hemp, because we know hemp can replace all wood. We can replace all material, all construction materials. So the true reconciliation here is to say we're not going to cut these trees anymore, and we're going to use the hemp. So I'm very excited about this. I don't know how you feel about this, Kelly, but we already talked also of doing a different action for our Grandma Moon to protect her and have like a TikTok and use like some sort of a smart sense of humor to bring the information forward. But I think this is our opportunity to push hemp unity, you know, and to really ridicule, like, you know, we've seen the size of that 750 years old tree. And just like to ridicule them, like, you know, it would be very easy. You know, how can you come to mind? How can you think that this is a good thing to be killing a 750-year-old tree? Come on, you know. So I don't know. We can have them, joke about them and say, oh, they do toothpicks, you know, and how many toothpicks, you know, do you need, you know, really, or things like that. I don't know. Little flashes that came to me, but it's a very at least we should also call them and just like inundate their phone line and say, this is ridiculous or whatever. There's a lot of things we can do. It's a massive company and they're like murderers. So let's just do, maybe we discuss it in the next Bear Clan meeting, Kelly, or, you know, we do it as a Life Givers Nation, but definitely we need to act on this. So.
Well, right there in what you just showed, their website of whatever that said there about engagement, indigenous engagement, that part right there that said they take pride or something like that of
they take great pride in their long history of co-management with First Nation. Okay,
so here, like I said, be creative. You can make a short video documentary, 5 minutes. Read that off. You read that off or show it. Equitable community growth, indigenous engagement. And then you read that and then you show the video of the cops going in and beating up the people and show, oh, this is their indigenous engagement. You know, so anyways, just to be, look at ways of being creative. Okay, was that it? Is there anybody else?
Yes, there's Edith.
Hello, everyone. Wait. Edidjit sista soko, aksota gandajes kwe panchita, de ganaksota nanela gandajes kwe selsa. Zapota gnihonsage, mexican wenerista, yonata yuni yokinostadista, nantoharage ganosesne, yadiyangahaga nawage, the ways nihonsage, nowarage governage. Well, I follow today, you know, when you wake up and you say, oh, it's snowy, you know, I had like a whole like line of day today, you know, I had supposedly been done this and that, but I just stayed in and it's so good. I was shoveling the driveway, you know, with a big thing that the neighbors left. Lucky me, because it's like the huge things that, you know, pick the whole snow, and that made it easier because my pail is like this, you know. Anyway, I wanted to come back in many things that everybody said. Kelly, like, I feel you so much, you know, and it's about the kids. And we work with kids all of the time, you know, and it's in different contexts. So yeah, I hear a lot what you say. And Gloria, thank you very much for that explanation about, you know, the brains. It was really, thank you, because I know you sent something earlier and now you explain it to me. So it makes more sense, you know, because the day has a follow up on things, you know, on things that come, messages. And then something that you said about Stuart of the artificial intelligence. You know, sometimes I come home and I just want to like relax and watch something maybe of 40, 50 minutes, not like 2 hours. And I watch series. So I was watching this Zac Efron, what's the name? Down to Earth. So he goes in different places, seeing what they have done about environment. And anyways, that's where I learned, because I think that I have heard it somehow, but that's where I saw the image literally, because they put it in an episode of how mushrooms, the mycelium, actually is not the actual mushroom yet, it is the mycelium that is gonna go around on the earth, and they are gonna catch an insect, and the mycelium is gonna come into the brain of the insect and it's gonna, like, you know, take over. So it's like, you know, there's a natural way of that, but then when you portray it, it's like the how they misuse the narrative, or how the narrative now is just like the artificial taking over, you know. But in nature, there's a way, you know, like maybe that mycelium would detect that that specific insect versus another one is like the one that has to be taken or eaten, or, you know, something like that. So anyways, now, Marie-Claude, with what you say, you know, about this action, I don't know if you could come back to that page too, like you presented, you know, where it says indigenous commitment or something like that.
I'm gonna look it up again. Yeah, it's right here.
Indigenous engagement.
Yeah. That maybe as a Life Givers Nation, what we should do seriously is to look at how with what they are saying themselves is infringing upon the Tura Wampum. And first off, I don't know, it's words, because words are legalities, and legalities is everything. So indigenous is a term that belongs to the church, and it means those that are not them. So just with that word, they are saying what they are, and that's an infringement on the Tura Wampum, you know? So specific words like that, you know, it's like, it is not indigenous. It's the people, the original people of the land, you know, the native people. So there's so many words that we could look at in the whole paragraph, you know? And yeah, of course, everything else that they say, that it's themselves saying it, you know? So yeah, this is all what I wanted to say about everything that I heard. So
Indigenous engagement.
Can I share something on that so everybody knows? This is all to do with the elected band system, because I got to sit with the elder, and I'm sorry that I'm forgetting his name right now. And he actually told us, like, you know, he's one of those loggers from way in the past, and he's seen what he's, you know, the mistake he's made. And he's the one who called this action to get the support at Fairy Creek. And So this whole teal thing is all this is the elected band system. And they even said they wanted the non-natives off their land, but I sat with the elder and he is of real hereditary chief line, and he called on the people to come to support. So this is what happens. This is even north of Tofino. Even the hereditary chiefs signed on to have big trees cut down. So this is the elected band system again.
Yeah. Therein is the play on words. What Edith just identified about indigenous. The words that they choose to use. Indigenous engagement, very important. They identify also UNDRIP, very important. You just identified a so-called hereditary chief who is for the trees getting cut down. So what we got to understand here is what is going on then. You think that that's a native person. How can that native person be for the trees being cut down? How could they be in support of that? A native person isn't in support of it. The indigenous person is. The indigenous person is engaged in the UNDRIP policy of what do they call that? No something without consultation. No, that they have to consult.
Yeah,
So-
they call it consent.
Yeah, no,
Oh, consultation, yeah. They haven't been consulted, yeah.
yeah, but they say
Prior
something,
informed.
no something without consent.
Yeah, prior informed consent, that's it, it's all together, yeah.
Anyways, you all know what we're talking about here. Okay, so everybody thinks that they understand it, it makes sense, and then you look at what's going on the ground. There's native people who are getting arrested, and then there's other, what you think, native people who are for the process of them getting arrested. So people have to come to terms with understanding something. So we got something here at our advantage that we got to take advantage of here as to that thing, that document that you just brought up about that company. Okay, we got to do something here to identify indigenous, break down the meanings. What does it mean? They belong to the church. Okay, well, the UNDRIP, everybody who's talking, who's accepted the UNDRIP, those are all indigenous people. They all belong to the church. And that way it'd be easy for you to understand. What does that say?
This is a court that took decision. They say today a decision. This is of course relating to Till Jones, and it's dated January 2022, confirming that the dangerously illegal actions by blockaders in tree farms license 46 not only harm Till Jones, but are also a threat to our democracy.
Mhm. So we got to take advantage of this here, of tearing this apart. Let's tear this corporation apart by understanding the words that they use. So they use the UNDRIP, the consultation. Now, everybody thinks they know, they understand, but out west, you got a corruption of what is called hereditary. And the corruption is in what they call hereditary chiefs. Now, these hereditary chiefs have all been part and parcel to the self-government process, all of them. Show me one so-called hereditary chief that was not a part of it, that is not aware of the self-government process. All of them were a part of it. All of them signed off on it. They all signed off on the self-government agreement 20 years ago. So you can't, non-native people can't be saying, oh, well, there's this hereditary chief and he was there and blah, 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 referring to the very people who signed the agreements 30 years ago, selling out the people of today. You got to come to understand things about what's the consequences. The non-native world doesn't know about consequences to political actions. You don't know about it because you don't have any political actions within your system. Because clearly, as you see what he right here, as to what Mary Claude blocked out there, identifying that the protesters were a threat to democracy. This tells you that, well, there's been nobody else who is a threat to democracy. There has been no other threats to democracy. So there has been no actual protests. When you think a protest is against something. So there has been nothing else that has caused any major players like these major corporations to identify such things. So you got to know that the wording, understand what the wording is, understand how many people were in favor of UNDRIP. Almost everybody out west who was standing to protect or to fight against the pipeline were all saying no. The UN's tagline there, the battle cry of whatever the hell it was, no something without consultation. They were using the UN's consultation statement. So all those people were, anybody who says that, you can't do this without consulting Native people first. You've already been consulted. Just by stating that, you are consulted. Your numbers are already being used in a negative way through democracy. You apply to it. So anyways, this is just stuff that people have to learn about democracy. Non-native people, you don't understand pretty much anything of importance. Non-native people gotta learn about the corruption of democracy, how it doesn't work, how it tricks you into believing certain things that are never true. Okay, so anyways, we covered a lot of ground here tonight. All right, that's it then, right? There's nobody else. Okay, so in the coming weeks, we got a lot of work to do, but midwinter is coming up very fast. And as we said, that this coming year, after the midwinter, we're going to go through the rebirth. Each of us are going to go through rebirth, which is patterning our daily lives after the gestation process of a human. So we're going to follow what takes place in the first days. We're going to go through cellular division in the first hours. We're going to go through that, an understanding of that, and apply it to ourselves. We're going to go through each day what the embryo is going through, what the changes are, what's growing in this day. The eyeballs are growing, the brain is growing, the heart is growing, this is growing, that is growing. We're going to make ourselves familiar with our own growth. We're going to go through rebirth, and in the night moon, we're going to go through the birth. So that's coming up right after, right as of the midwinter. Midwinter is very soon. What's the date today? It's a couple of weeks from now, the midwinter. It's actually before the end of December.
It's in almost 13 days, or if not even less.
It's 11 days. It starts on the 20th.
So everybody gotta get yourself ready. And even if you don't know what we're talking about, maybe you just hear this. Well, as of the midwinter, the new year. So whatever the new year is for you, you just think of patterning your life after the growth of an embryo, a human embryo. Again, meaning all the growth spurts or whatever that a baby is going through and in the womb of a mother, that this is what we're going to collectively be conscious of. We're going to learn this. We're going to teach it to ourselves. We're going to become it. We're going to reborn ourselves with common sense, with logic, where we're going to be functioning, not a bunch of dysfunctioning, not a part of the dysfunctioning 8 billion. That's a new gang name there, the dysfunctioning 8 billion. Okay, so we're just gonna close. Let's see, anything coming up that we got? Anything lined up? I don't think so,
Solstice
eh?
is gonna be on the 23rd. So, I don't know if you want to talk about this.
Okay, well, we'll see everybody on Wednesday then, and the next reconstitution. Okay, so, on the Gadiwahi Gajokwa, use a gahawe, time to come to a close, so. Ayuki at again, ha, yeti sota gunhan, there don't know the headstone, I'm gonna go read or the hawa kwe. Dam dawe aron headstone, and does it stasser and the ganuwe. Dam dawe aron headstone, and a gwego on a gordo gayan, and that's go and escano, dano, ori wheel, kariwa gori shunsida, dano that stasser. Dam dawe aron headstone, and gayanda wana, and they gonna go here. Doga tena na hodi yataksu. Air to sawit, air to sawit, air to sawit. Kenya has a way, Jenny Joano. Oh, okay, everybody. Now we'll go. See you later.
Have a good night. Enjoy the snow.
Anna.
Everybody.